MeMonster.
Chapter 81. Under the faint moonlight, Kim Soo-ho walked alone toward his dorm. As he made his way along the dark road, he suddenly burst into laughter. The fight he just had replayed in his mind. He had been sent flying helplessly when he was only an inch away from Kim Hajin. Even now, he couldn't understand what had attacked him. Was it a physical blow or a sudden burst of magic power? Either way, a mysterious force had knocked him away from the battlefield, allowing Kim Hajin to land a valid hit. I thought I was the only one hiding my power. Kim Soo-ho knew that showing abnormal strength would attract unwanted suspicion, so he only revealed enough of his power to maintain his first-place rank in Cube. He hid his true strength for himself, and the only reason he kept first place was for his family. So there's someone else thinking the same way as me. Kim Soo-ho hadn't held back in his fight with Kim Hajin. Still, Kim Hajin managed to dodge his attacks with strange movements. Even now, he found Kim Hajin's movements completely mysterious. They seemed mindless and without foundation. He looked slow and full of openings. Kim Soo-ho saw dozens of chances to attack, yet his attacks only grazed him or sliced through empty air. He truly couldn't tell whether Kim Hajin was real or fake. It was flawlessness disguised as weakness. At that moment, Kim Soo-ho heard the sound of a sword cutting through the wind. He also heard a small, clenched shout. The sound came from the park near the dorm. Curious, he headed over and saw a girl swinging a sword. It was Chae Na-yoon. "What are you doing?" "Yak!" Startled, Chae Na-yoon threw the sword she was swinging. The sword flew like a baseball bat and struck a dorm window. Thankfully, the window didn't break, but the cadet inside seemed to wake up as the lights came on. What? Why are you so surprised?" Chae Na-yoon glared at the sudden, uninvited guest. Kim Soo-ho smirked and asked, "Were you practicing swordsmanship?" "Just stamina training." Chae Na-yoon unleashed magic power. The sword flew back into her hand, guided by her magic. She dusted off the dirt and pointed the sword at Kim Soo-ho. "Where are you coming back from?" "Me?" Kim Soo-ho answered honestly. "I met with Kim Hajin." Chae Na-yoon's eyes widened. "Kim Hajin?" "Yep." "What for?" Chae Na-yoon tucked her hair behind her ear, pretending to be unconcerned. Seeing this, Kim Soo-ho had a mischievous thought. "We were talking about you." What? But, bullshit." She reacted strongly. Her face flushed to her ears, and her hands and feet fidgeted. Kim Soo-ho shook his head, laughing. "It was a joke. We sparred." "Sparred? You and Kim Hajin?" "Yeah." "Who won?" "No, you must have won. But why?" "You don't need to know that." Chae Na-yoon stared at Kim Soo-ho sourly and turned around and resumed her sword practice. Whoosh! Whoosh! She swung her sword, but she was using too much strength. Kim Soo-ho stepped in, unable to watch any longer. "You can't hold the sword like that." "What?" "If you grip the sword that tightly, you won't be able to cut what you should." Kim Soo-ho pulled out a wooden sword and demonstrated. He didn't grip it tightly, but held it lightly, firmly enough to change his grip at any moment. He swung the sword, drawing a clear sword wind in the air. The wind brushed Chae Na-yoon's hair and scattered. Chae Na-yoon's attitude changed immediately. She watched Kim Soo-ho's grip carefully and copied him. Like this?" The impromptu lesson with Kim Soo-ho continued until midnight. When Chae Na-yoon returned to her dorm, she immediately made a video call to Hazuki to tell her about the team she had decided on. She made Hazuki the vice leader and selected an average supporter and sharpshooter as well. 2 warriors, 1 support, 1 sharpshooter, 1 magician. The magician was from the upper ranks of Seoul Magic Academy, making it a well-balanced team. Furthermore, Chae Na-yoon could act as both a warrior and a sharpshooter, making her team even more flexible. Her team wasn't just decent, it was undoubtedly one of the best. Then, is Hajin-C not joining us?" In the holographic call, Hazuki murmured regretfully. Well, I could bring him if I wanted, but then I'd feel bad for Rachel's team. Other than Rachel, everyone on that team is only average." Chae Na-yoon replied in a loud and clear voice. Just as she said, without Rachel and Kim Hajin, Rachel's team wasn't particularly outstanding. They had 3 warriors, no supporter, and the magician Tomer was below average. But let's not think about them. I'm going to submit the team list like this, okay? Yes. Just like that, Team Chaenayun was confirmed. Chaenayun hung up and jumped onto her bed. It was time to sleep, but she wasn't sleepy. Frankly, she was frustrated and annoyed. If she'd known this would have happened, she would have asked Kim Hajin much earlier. That way they could have gotten a good score in theory, too. Because she kept hesitating, he ended up being taken by Rachel. Am I going to lose again? She still remembered her defeat during the midterm. The result of her duel with Rachel was perhaps the decisive reason she switched to the sword. Chaenayun, recalling this bad memory under her blanket, suddenly sat up. She simply couldn't fall asleep. With no other choice, she picked up a helmet lying next to her bed. To relieve stress at this late hour, playing games was her only option. Gladiator of the Century. It was a famous virtual reality game often featured in public broadcasts. Because it helped with image training, many heroes and cadets enjoyed it. With its popularity, the rank 1 player of each season was always in the media spotlight. Nayun Jajangman. 98 wins, 17 losses. Her dazzling win rate was something Chaenayun was very proud of. Unranked matches were better than ranked to relieve stress. Chaenayun rolled her eyes as she searched for an opponent. Soon, she found someone suitable. The player's nickname was Extra 7. He was in Platinum League with 43 wins and 43 losses. It seemed like an easy victory. You asked Extra 7 for a duel. Extra 7 has accepted your duel. Oh, this guy is quite bold. Chaenayun grinned and focused on the virtual reality. There were no stats or items in this game. Only battle sense and superior control determined victory or defeat. Start! The duel began. Chaenayun wanted to take things slow and test the waters. However, the opponent was unexpectedly reckless. Before she could adapt to his sudden attack, her character was launched into the air and torn apart by a series of consecutive strikes. By the time she realized what had happened, her vision had turned red. What? She tried to get serious, but her HP was too low. In the end, she lost just 3 minutes after the duel started. Defeat. Chaenayun stared at the word blankly, then frowned. This sly piece of crap. Victory. I won again. I was currently playing a game called Gladiator of the Century. It was quite realistic, both in graphics and movement, so I'd been playing it recently for image training. So it works on this too. The number 37 was engraved on the console helmet. It meant Random Consolidation System was active. Random Consolidation System. Low rank, Spirit attribute. Random Consolidation. Consolidates the concept of the scanned equipment by 1 to 44%. The consolidation lasts for 24 hours, after which the consolidation percentage will be randomized again. The consolidation of concept. Using this ability, my console had become something else. Not only did its functionality and performance increase, but the speed of my thoughts and reactions also increased by 37%. It was 37% numerically, but it felt like an even bigger boost. I won 7 times in a row. Thanks to my new gift, I ended up defeating a 98-win, 17-loss veteran 7 times in a row. Of course, it was an unranked match, so it didn't affect my ranked stats. Nyan Jajangman requests a rematch. Nyan Jajangman requests a rematch. Nyan Jajangman requests a rematch. This kid sure is tenacious. Well, too bad for you. I have to sleep now. I turned the game off and put the helmet away. Suddenly, I caught sight of Evendel in the corner of my eye. Yummy, so yummy. She had been asleep when I got home, but woke up when I started playing Gladiator of the Century. Now she was fully awake and munching on cake. The huge cake I brought was already half gone. Was she allowed to eat that much? I was a bit worried. After watching Evendel for a bit, I confiscated the cake. What is it? Let's save the rest for later. Why? It's not good for your health. Evendel hopped up to try and grab the cake, but I was cold-hearted. I put the cake away on the topmost shelf in the fridge. Realizing it was out of reach, Evandel put her hands on her waist and frowned, looking like she was upset with the whole world. "I want more! I want more!" She learned to complain. I placed my index finger over my mouth. "Shh. You should only eat a little snack after meals. Also, you can't be loud at night." Although she quieted down at my warning, her tiny hands trembled. With no other choice, I picked up Evandel. "Tomorrow you can eat the rest, okay? I'll buy even more delicious food tomorrow." "Really?" "Of course. Have you seen me break a promise?" When I stroked her head, she finally seemed appeased. Not long after, Evandel fell asleep, and I placed her on my bed. When I checked my smartwatch afterward, I noticed Kim Suho had sent me a message 2 hours ago. Cadet jacket. A jacket created by Cube. Trap transformation. When someone steps on this jacket, an unknown force will strongly push the person off. This effect lasts for 10 minutes and will disappear after one activation. It seemed he recognized my skill. It was all thanks to the cadet jacket I modified. Kim Suho didn't seem to suspect anything. Of course, it was his jacket, so there was no reason for him to suspect it. Moreover, it was an unknown force that pushed him. Kim Suho would never figure out what had done him in. Wednesday. It was the first class since the team formation. A combat training called Dungeon Investigation. Normally, when heroes find a dungeon, they dispatch an advance party to get a rough idea of what's inside. In this combat training, cadets were act as the advance party. "Oh, it's so cold." "Oh, aren't you cold, Hajin?" My team was currently inside a dungeon covered in ice. The 5 of us shivered as we walked onward. After about 20 minutes, the road suddenly forked into 5 branches. "It's here." Tamar pointed at the rightmost path. I opened my eyes wide and stared in that direction. As expected, there was a trap there. "No, that's the wrong place." "What? No, it's not." Tamar was purposely leading us into a trap. I didn't think there was a gene waiting to ambush us, but she must have set some sort of life-threatening trap. In a dungeon investigation, it's common sense to listen to your sharpshooter. Tamar stared at Rachel. Too bad for her, Rachel was on my side. "Let's go as Hajin C says." "Don't regret it later." Tamar was a sore loser. "There's a Yeti up ahead." A Yeti was sleeping in the pathway I chose. The dungeon's first monster, Yeti. We advanced forward, keeping our guard up. After that, Tamar kept trying to lead us, especially Rachel, into traps. However, I was always there to stop her. "Guys, I think it's this way, for real time this time, if you see the traces of ice around there." "No, it's not." "No, trust me, just once. Rachel C., come with me. Wouldn't it be more efficient to split into 2 groups?" "No, we can't." I have to commend her persistence, but I couldn't let her do as she pleased. I grabbed Rachel by the wrist and she followed me silently. As time passed, Tamar's expression grew more and more irritated. My 1,000-mile eyes found the shortest path in this maze-like ice dungeon. There were no obstructions and no difficulties. By the time we caught a glimpse of the instructor waiting at the exit, Rachel spoke uncomfortably. Hajin C. "Yes?" "This—" Rachel glanced at her wrist. I was still holding on to her, worried Tamar might try to take her away. "Oh, right. Sorry." "No, you don't need to be." "Team Rachel!" The instructor spotted us and shouted in a thunderous voice. We hurried up and stood in front of him. "Your findings." "Yes, a Yeti, Snow Beast, White Calamity, White Drake." Rachel recited the results of the investigation. The instructor listened quietly and compared the findings with a list. Then a faint smile appeared on his face. "Based on the rank of the monsters distributed in the dungeon's boss should be at least intermediate grade 3. Good. Team Rachel, perfect score." Rachel's face brightened. The other team members were the same. They clenched their fists, savoring the words perfect score. "Damn it!" Meanwhile, Tamar kicked a rock, irritation clear on her face.
Chapter 82. Iheu. After returning to the magician's dorm, Tomer let out a deep sigh. Tomer, why is the mission being delayed? Are there other variables? Her boss sent her a grumpy message. Tomer's mission was to injure or weaken Rachel. She only had to make Rachel take a break from her usual daily life for a bit. With cooperation from Djinns acting as spies among Cube's executives, she thought she could quickly take care of this mission and go back. But there was a constant heckler obstructing her. Do I have to take care of him first? Nowadays, she felt sour just seeing Kim Hajin's face. Every time she tried to do something, he seemingly appeared out of nowhere and foiled her plans. Whether it was before class, during class, or after class, Kim Hajin refused to leave Rachel's side. Tss, can't he know his place? Wait. A flash of insight sparked in Tomer's head. Kim Hajin had strong feelings for Rachel. She was sure of it. However, although she didn't openly show it, Rachel was undoubtedly uncomfortable with his advances. He was trying to make a move one-sidedly. There were many ways to spread malicious rumors. You could badmouth someone behind their back, or you could exaggerate rumors that were already present. But for now, there was no need for such complicated schemes. She just had to say things as she saw them, albeit exaggerating a little. To do that, she would have to first get close to Kim Hajin and Rachel. No, to the entire team. Tomer messaged her boss. Is the mission really just to separate this girl? That's right. Afterward, the agent we dispatched will take care of the rest. Good. It's time for a change of plans. Tomer laughed to herself quietly. It was then that her smartwatch vibrated. The especially intense vibration signaled that it was from Violet Banquet. Tomer quickly turned on her smartwatch. Truth Agency. We have accepted Jamie Jamercy's request. They're replying now? She had forgotten about Truth Agency because it was 2 or 3 weeks ago that she put in a request. She had assumed they were unreliable since they didn't answer. Did they just have too many clients? In any case, she was satisfied. As long as she could find out where that bastard was, she was happy to wait. Next week, each team will select a small-scale dungeon and do a presentation on the best way to conquer it. Friday's theory class, Phenomenon Realm Analysis 2. Just before the class ended, the professor gave the cadets their team assignments. Cadets immediately broke out into groans. However, Jin Ho-sung and Yi Bok-soo, who were sitting in front of me, didn't seem all that worried. They turned around, looking at me happily. We believe in you, Hajin! It wasn't just them. Other cadets were also looking this way with envious eyes. Have a good weekend! With that, the professor left the classroom. Members of Team Rachel, including myself, got up. Guys, there's a team leader meeting next Wednesday. Don't forget to come to the auditorium if you're a team leader. At that moment, the class president, Yi Young-han, loudly shouted. I looked at Rachel, who was putting her writing utensils away, and our eyes met. I spoke. For today, let's go to the cafe and just divide up the work. All right. This wasn't Rachel's voice. I turned my gaze to the side. It was Tomer. Let's go to the cafe. Tomer had a very bright face. What's up with you? What do you mean? Everyone, Rachel let's go. We don't have time. Tomer stepped in and began to urge other team members. I stared at her dazed. What's she scheming this time? Did she have a nuclear bomb set up at the cafe? 10 minutes later, we arrived at the cafe. I tried peering through the roof and ground, but I couldn't find any traps in the cafe. Although I was still suspicious, I started dividing up the work among others. Ho-sung and Bok-yu can look up the data on the dungeon. Jamie and Rachel can calculate the mana density. That was the result of our 30-minute discussion. They would send their results to me, then I would assemble everything together into a presentable PowerPoint. That sounds good. I agree. The team members agreed with bright faces. When I was about to grab my bag and leave, Rachel suddenly grabbed my sleeve. Hajin? Yes? The English royal court contacted you. What contact? At that moment, Rachel slightly furrowed her brows. The English Royal Court Guild? Question mark. I tilted my head. Although I didn't remember something like that, I checked my email just in case. There were 1,097 unread emails. I tried searching for the phrase Royal Court. I found one email. Ah, they emailed me. Sorry, I don't check my email that often. They emailed you? I didn't know why, but Rachel seemed to be a bit angry as her lips stuck out in a pout. Try reading it when you go home. I'll just read it now. I clicked on the email. Just like Rachel said, the English Royal Court Guild had contacted me. It was written in Korean, so I had no trouble reading it. A 100 million won salary with additional benefits. It wasn't a particularly good condition for a pre-contract. Can I take a look? Sure. Rachel peeked her head in and checked the content. Her eyes moved around busily, then she frowned strongly. What kind of a contract is... Never mind. Don't read this. Rachel stood up, fuming. Then she hurriedly rushed out of the cafe. She had the angriest face I'd seen since I entered Cube. What? Why is she so mad? The rest of the team members watched her leave in a daze. Sunday night, a time I set out for my sanity. I was currently focused on playing a game. Victory! I won once again. Nunium. Yes? How did you do that combo just now? The loser, Nyanjai Jengman, messaged me. We became friends since we played on Wednesday. Because we were logged on around the same time, we've been playing against each other often. Thankfully, random consolidation system gave me numbers like 37, 40, 39, so I haven't lost a single game. You must be calm. How are you so good? Are you an active hero? No, not at all. Strengthening of concept. It increased understanding of what combo to use and what combo was most efficient, boosting even the sense of time and movement within the game. Although my skills would vary depending on what number I rolled, I was undoubtedly worthy to be called an expert. By the way, why is your ranked match stats 43 wins and 43 losses? Did you lose on purpose? Yes, because I didn't want to be someone who was intensely attached to mere numbers. I lied without even batting an eye. Ah, I see. You're amazing. I can't sleep properly if I lose a ranked match. Do you log on around this time every day? Yes. Can I ask you to teach me a move or two around this time? I couldn't help but smile. He was surprisingly polite. Gladly. But I'll be going offline now. I must go work out. Oh, I was about to go work out too. Jinx!
I didn't reply to him and just put my helmet down. I carefully opened the door so as not to wake Ivandel. Then I headed to the fitness center. After about 5 minutes of walking, I arrived. When I came out of the changing room in my sportswear, I ran into Che Nayun, who was also entering the fitness center. What, you're here to work out too? Huh? Oh yeah. All right, work hard. Che Nayun walked past me into the girls' changing room. I then headed to the treadmill without much thought. Suddenly, a thought flashed through my head. Nayun Jajangman. Nayun. Che Nayun. No way, right? It was unlikely. In the first place, Che Nayun didn't like Jajangmyeon that much. There was no reason she would use it as her ID. Not to mention, Nayun Jajangman spoke like a man. Beep! I set the treadmill speed to 20 kilometers per hour. I wouldn't have even imagined it in the past, but now it wasn't so difficult. For the next 30 minutes, I ran on the treadmill. By the time I got off, I was soaked with my own sweat. I took out a sports drink from the fridge. Che Nayun, who just got out of the gravitation room, slowly came up next to me. Hey! I stared at Che Nayun silently. She fidgeted around trying to buy time. What? Say something. You see, my team got the Hongshan Mantis Dungeon. It seemed Che Nayun was worried about her team challenge. A Mantis Dungeon? She ended up taking an insect dungeon, which was one of the trickiest out of all dungeons. Do you know anything about it? How did you choose the most difficult one? I know, right? The annoying magician in my team kept telling me to choose it. The magician in Chae Na-yoon's team was Oh Jun-sik. I recorded him in my settings book. Although he's skilled, he's a bit of an ass. Because his aunt is a 7-star magician, he probably wouldn't bend down to Chae Na-yoon. He probably thought he could get bonus points with a difficult assignment, but he's probably going to be sloppy in his presentation. He's going to stutter and make you facepalm. I know, I was willing to overlook it, but now, I've never met someone who was more headstrong than me. At least she knew she was headstrong. If possible, let someone else do the presentation. Unexpectedly, Hazuki seems to be a good choice. I want to, but I doubt that bastard will agree. Come. Suddenly, the atmosphere turned awkward. We both distanced ourselves as though we remembered our relationship. After all, we weren't friends who could chat so amicably. Have fun exercising. I'm going back to the gravitation room. Yeah, I'll go lift some weights. August 12th, Tuesday, dusk. In an empty park, a sharp sword-swinging sound resounded through the area. Hey, didn't I get better? Chae Na-yoon, who just wielded a sword, asked with a bright face. Kim Soo-ho nodded with a laugh. Yeah, you stopped closing your eyes. Only 7 days had passed since Kim Soo-ho started acting as Chae Na-yoon's teacher. Chae Na-yoon was certainly growing at an incredible rate. Her biggest achievement was that she stopped fearing close-ranged attacks to a certain extent. I think playing that game really helped me. Game? Kim Soo-ho asked as he tilted his head. Yeah, I met someone who's even better than you, a super expert who only does close-ranged combat. Oh, Gladiator of the Century? But you don't move your body in that game. Gladiator of the Century used brainwaves and iris movements as control. Of course, you could play it with a keyboard and a mouse, but that would significantly slow down your reaction time. Yeah, but an ordinary person would never be able to do what he does. He's my mentor. Oh, he must really be an expert then. Chae Na-yoon's mentor. It meant that the prideful Chae Na-yoon had acknowledged him to be superior. Yeah, he has a great personality too. He apparently matches his win-loss ratio because he doesn't want to be intensely attached to mere numbers. Isn't that cool? Most people played ranked matches to win, resulting in a rather boring match. Each side would first test out the waters with small maneuvers, and the outcome of the battle would end up being determined by which side dealt the most effective blows. It was kind of like a boxing match, except that it was rare for one side to be KO'd. But Extra 7 was different. He charged at you directly and almost recklessly. Each of his movements was potentially lethal, helping Chae Na-yoon get over her fear of close-ranged combat. If he's that good, he must be an active hero, right? No, I asked him and he said, Hey. It was then. A man appeared in the distance wearing flip-flops. It was Kim Hajin. Oh look, Kim Hajin's here. This didn't surprise Chae Na-yoon. Kim Soo-ho had already told her that Kim Hajin was coming to talk to him, and that he could only teach her until Kim Hajin came. Oh, you're right. Then I'll be going now. Kim Soo-ho got up. Yeah, take care. Don't overwork yourself, okay? Chae Na-yoon watched Kim Soo-ho walking up to Kim Hajin. It felt like they had gotten close recently. But how? Now that I think about it, Kim Soo-ho jokingly said they talked about me. Was it because of me? Kim Soo-ho and Kim Hajin walked off chatting together. Chae Na-yoon strained her ears. How's your condition? This was Kim Hajin's voice. Pretty good, that was Kim Soo-ho's. Don't overwork yourself. Friday's right around the corner. Of course. Oh, and how's Chae Na-yoon? At that moment, Chae Na-yoon's heart skipped a beat. This was the most important part, but they were now too far for her to listen in. What the? Chae Na-yoon stared at them with a complex mix of emotions in her eyes.
Chapter 83. I came to a rice soup restaurant. Cube had all sorts of restaurants, but this place, Grandma's Home Flavor, was the only rice soup restaurant open 24/7. Seeing Kim Soo-ho eating a bowl of rice soup, I became lost in thought. Kim Soo-ho's current power was at least at the level of an intermediate rank hero. This world still had many hidden pieces I set up that remained undiscovered. Among these, some would fall into the hands of antagonists. Items like Lucifer's feather and the snake tooth of beginning were things I wouldn't dare try to obtain myself. But with Kim Suho's help, I might be able to stop them from falling into the wrong hands. Thinking about it this way, Kim Suho suddenly became a lot more attractive. I stared at Kim Suho. He looked like a main character no matter how I looked at him. The rice soup must have been delicious, as he didn't notice a grain of rice stuck next to his mouth. You have a grain of rice stuck there. I took out a few tissues and wiped the grain of rice away. Kim Suho spoke with a thin smile. By the way, are you going to do the PowerPoint presentation for your class? Yep. Aren't you nervous? I would be. I'll eat a serenity pill before it, don't worry. I learned long ago that it was foolish to be stubborn about taking medicine. Although I quit college to focus on writing, I still attended until my sophomore year. I've been in 4 or 5 group projects, so I'm fairly experienced with presentations. I also planned on investing some SP into the serenity pill, not necessarily for me, but for Rachel and my other teammates, who had high expectations of me. If I also add increased eloquence and persuasiveness effects on the horn flute, it should be a breeze to ace the presentation. I asked Kim Suho. Anyway, the dungeon is near Suwon, right? Yeah, we should be careful. Suwon was the most dangerous area of the 3 capital regions, Seoul, Suwon, and Incheon. During Outcall, Suwon went through bizarre terraforming, turning more than half the region into a horrifying mountain zone. Because of this, the west side of Suwon was completely off limits to the public. Kamak Mountain, our destination, was just at the border of this restricted zone. It was then that the restaurant's door opened and someone clad entirely in black walked in. A big hat, a black mask, and a long, full-body coat. This person could easily be mistaken for a criminal. I just called?" The woman in black notified the staff in a soft voice. Then she glanced at Kim Suho and I, the only other customers in the restaurant. Immediately, her shoulders trembled. "Ah, yes. Wait just one moment." The staff went into the kitchen. I smirked and turned to the woman. She was frozen like a statue. "Oh, who's this?" I suddenly remembered. Along with hamburgers, rice soup was one of her favorite dishes. "Yo, Yu Yan Hei!" She was desperately pretending not to have heard my clear exclamation. Seeing that she wasn't running away, she must still want the rice soup she ordered. I got up and approached her. "Since you're here, why don't you join us?" "Yes? Who might you be? I don't know anyone like you." "Hey, Yu Yan Hei? Are you Yu Yan Hei?" Kim Suho also responded. Then Yu Yan Hei's eyes began to tear up under her big hat. No, I'm not. I don't know anyone by that name." "Here you go." The staff came out and handed her a packaged rice soup. Yu Yan Hei quickly snatched it and ran off. "Hey, wait! You need to pay for that!" The staff shouted, but Yu Yan Hei disappeared like the wind. Then the staff's gaze slowly turned toward me. With no other choice, I took out my card. "I'll pay for it." "Yes, thank you." For the record, for the next 3 days, Yu Yan Hei couldn't even meet my eyes. Friday, the day of the Phenomenon Realm Analysis Team Challenge presentation. Currently, Chai Na-yun was in a terrible mood. Her team had been the first to present. The result was a disaster even by Chai Na-yun's standards. Just like Kim Hajin said, Oh Jun-sik insisted on doing the presentation, stuttering throughout and messing up the entire PowerPoint. I was too nervous. Sorry, I'll be better next time." That was what he said afterwards. Chai Na-yun wanted to smack his head, but she held herself back since class was still going on. Next up was Team Rachel. A man sitting in front of Chai Na-yun got up. It was Kim Hajin. Wearing a pair of round glasses, he walked up to the podium. "Hello, I am from Team 3. Our dungeon was the Wall Sheen dungeon. This dungeon existed at the foot of Gangwon-do Snow Mountain, but because the guild in charge of it, the Desolate Moon, hasn't released any information on the result, Kim Hajin's presentation was smooth. His voice was soft, and he didn't seem nervous. First, he introduced the information gathered by his team, then estimated the dungeon's internal structure using calculations. He even had a cross-sectional map prepared. China Yun stared at Kim Hajin's presentation in a daze, her chin resting on her hand. His voice was slightly different, and a sense of ease was carried in his occasional smiles. Together with his round glasses, it was as if he was giving the class a lecture. A smart guy's really cool. Wait, I have a question. Yes. How can you estimate the counterflow of magic flow with such a small amount of data? At that moment, the professor interrupted and asked a question. Oh, about that? If you look at the calculations here? However, Kim Hajin answered the professor just as smoothly as always. Seeing this intellectual side of him, China Yun fell into a trance. With Kim Hajin's answer, the professor backed down with a satisfied smile, and the presentation soon concluded. That's it for our team's presentation. Kim Hajin finished as he pushed his glasses up. Afterwards, he returned to his seat next to Rachel's. China Yun stared at Rachel, half in regret, half in envy. Rachel and Kim Hajin smiled and gave each other a high five. After class ended, I was returning to the dorms with Rachel. Tomer and the other team members strongly asked for a celebratory after-party, but Rachel and I didn't participate. I had another appointment, and Rachel just had a reserved personality. We walked together talking about today's team challenge, about how China Yun's team bombed the presentation, about how Shin Jung-hak made his presentation so intimidating. All right, here. When we reached the crossroad to dorm 1 and 2, Rachel handed me a piece of paper. What is this? Are you perhaps interested in the English Royal Court Guild? Yes? Before I could answer, Rachel continued. In truth, I asked the Royal Court Guild to contact Hajin, but it seems they assumed things on their own by looking at Hajin's rank.
Hearing that, I looked at the paper she gave me. It was a contract. Indeed, it had better conditions than the one I saw in the email. If I were still on Earth, I never would have imagined such treatment. Please consider it. Rachel gave a light bow, then turned and walked to the right. I watched her leave quietly. After playing with a vandal for about 30 minutes, I headed to a bus stop near Suwon Station, where I promised to meet Kim Suho. Kim Suho had arrived long ago and was waiting for me. Hey Hajin, your presentation was amazing. Kim Suho was wearing light clothing. He was currently low on money, so I volunteered to take care of food and equipment. Everyone was full of praises for you. Oh yeah? Well, more importantly, which way should we be going? Follow me. Kim Suho took the lead, and I followed. Not long after, we arrived at Kamok Mountain. We hiked deep into the mountain. Because powerful beast-type monsters lived in Kamok Mountain, we were both on the lookout. It's here. Finally, we arrived at a dead end. Kim Suho pointed at the wall in front of us, covered in moss and vines. So this is why it hasn't been discovered until now. Even if you knew it was there, it would have been hard to find. Not only was it covered in vegetation, but the entrance was narrow. At first glance, it only looked like a tiny gap. Once we go in, it won't be easy to escape. Are you prepared? Of course. I took out the Desert Eagle from my pocket. This is pretty strong. I even prepared a light bullet just in case. Swordsman of Destruction should be a high intermediate rank monster. The difference between intermediate and high intermediate rank is immense. Even this light bullet, which costs 70 SP to make, would likely only distract it for a moment. However, a moment of distraction was enough. Kim Suho would take care of the rest. Then let's go in. Kim Suho and I jumped into the narrow gap. The gap widened as we walked, eventually becoming big enough to be a tunnel. The inside of the dungeon was covered in dense darkness.
Instead of turning on a flashlight, I grabbed Kim Soo-ho's hand and guided him. Shining light unnecessarily could provoke spirit monsters. It's kinda creepy. Tell me about it. Hold on. I suddenly stopped and widened my eyes. There was another pathway on the other side. If we started from the right side, it meant there was another entrance from the left. Was it like this in the original story? No, I didn't think so. Two people were walking forward from the pathway. Where is this? A hidden stage, I'm guessing? I couldn't tell who they were from their faces, but considering the feeling I got from them and the tattoos on their faces, they didn't look like kind people. Wait, stay quiet for a moment. I quickly checked my laptop using my smartwatch. There was an alert, just as I had expected. Criticism. Kamok Mountain Dungeon, which Kim Soo-ho conquers, is too small considering its reward. Solution. Made Kamok Mountain Dungeon a hidden stage in Suwon Devil's Nest. In other words, Suwon Devil's Nest became connected to Kamok Mountain Dungeon. Coincidentally, today was August 14th, the day the Pack Horse Master would conquer Suwon Devil's Nest. In that case, those two guys should be djinns from the Pack Horse Master. Why? Kim Soo-ho whispered. I clenched my teeth. Pack Horse Master's djinns are fairly powerful. They were disguised as heroes, at least intermediate rank in power. Even Kim Soo-ho would have trouble dealing with them. There are other people in here. Damn it! For now, I closely watched their movements as I eavesdropped on their conversation. Let's go back first. Rather than arguing with the rest about what we got out of the hidden stage, it'll be better to conquer it together. Yeah, you're right. Thankfully, they went back after confirming the hidden stage's location. Let's finish this fast. I concentrated magic power on my 1,000-mile eyes. In an instant, my vision expanded and the dungeon's internal structure entered my sight. The Swordsman of Destruction's location. Straight, then 2 turns to the right. The Swordsman of Destruction was sleeping inside the boss room. Suwon Devil's Nest. A medium-scale dungeon located in the valley of the Suwon mountain range. By the time this dungeon was close to being completely conquered, the owner of Chameleon Troop Seed of Blue, an African-American man named Khalifa, looked around at the members of Pack Horse Master. He had infiltrated the Pack Horse Master Guild. 7 of the 9 members who participated in the dungeon raid were sitting on the ground catching their breath. James, Johong, did you find anything? The Guildmaster contacted the group's 2 scouts with a communication device. Yes, we discovered a hidden path. It seems to be a hidden stage. Oh, is that so? Khalifa quietly listened in on their conversation. We're currently on our way back. We can conquer it together. No, we'll go there. You guys can continue your investigation. Yes, understood. You hear that, guys? It's time to get up. They were currently missing 2 men. In that case, now was the best time. Khalifa tapped his ears, transmitting a signal. Then he unleashed his magic power in the shape of a door. Phase shift. It was an ability that connected one space to another as long as it was not too far apart. Naturally, this was part of Khalifa's gift. Cullen, what are you doing? Who told you to open a portal? Although it had a few differences from a portal, because it looked like one, almost everyone mistook it for an artificial portal. Khalifa didn't bother to correct them. Cullen, close the portal. He silently put on a pair of sunglasses. Cullen! Annoyed by the Guildmaster's loud shouting, he even put on earplugs. You son of a bitch! Enraged, the Guildmaster walked up to the portal. It was then a black blade shot out from the portal. The blade cleanly severed him in 2. Without even having to ask, the Guildmaster was dead. Immediately he scattered into black dust. A thick silence descended. The group's leader had been killed by a single blow. Other djinns simply stared into the portal. They couldn't bring themselves to move or even speak. Soon, a woman walked out of the portal. She had average height but a beautiful appearance. When the jinns met her eyes, their consciousness was sucked into a deep abyss. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 jinns collapsed like lifeless dolls. We'll have to keep one for the sake of stock price. Boss stared at Khalifa, murmuring in a cold voice. Khalifa grinned, then spoke. "You're right. Now then, should we go find the hidden stage?" "You wait here." "Yes?" Khalifa tilted his head. Boss retorted briefly. "The 2 people inside the hidden stage are candidates." "Aha!" Candidates. They referred to individuals selected by Boss and the members of Chameleon Troop to have the qualification of becoming Chameleon Troop's new color. "Is it a test?"
Boss liquefied her body without answering Khalifa. In an instant, her body turned into a black liquid and stuck to the ground. In that state, she moved quickly. Chapter 84. The path to the boss room was filled with monsters. I didn't plan on letting Kim Soo-ho handle them all. Since they were at a level I could kill with my gun, I wanted to take them out myself and pretend I was helping. Currently, 6 ghouls stood in front of me. They were low intermediate rank, grade 9 undead monsters. I gripped the desert eagle tightly. Even in the pitch-black darkness, its platinum exterior shone. I aimed at the ghouls' swollen right eyes, where their tiny brains were located. I pulled the trigger without hesitation. 6 bullets shot out, each piercing a ghoul's vital point. A blue light flashed, and the ghouls collapsed. "Oh, as expected," Kim Soo-ho exclaimed in awe, but I didn't have time to feel proud. I operated on the principle of strong against weak, weak against strong. I could slaughter an army of weaklings, but I wouldn't stand a chance against a single expert. No, I'd have to run from anyone even slightly above me. "Let's hurry, we don't have time." We ran through the cave. Monsters lurked around every corner, but they were weak and easy to handle. After about 10 minutes of fighting ghouls, zombies, and ghosts, we arrived at a giant stone wall. These symbols were an ancient language found only in dungeons. Thanks to modern technology, a smartwatch could translate them. That's what Kim Soo-ho did in the original story as well. I took out my smartwatch and scanned the symbols on the wall. From this and that always accompany each other. Observed from a close distance, this and that feel simultaneous. But from afar, this comes before that. What is this? Kim Soo-ho glanced at my smartwatch and saw the riddle. "Ah, it must be a riddle. I heard there are dungeons like this." In the original story, Kim Soo-ho couldn't solve this riddle and had to text Yu Yun-ye for help. She contacted an information guild and got the answer in 5 minutes. But I didn't have time to wait. This riddle was something I half-heartedly made. The answer was lightning. This was lightning, and that was thunder. Although lightning accompanies thunder, light travels faster than sound, so you see lightning before you hear thunder. Lightning. I muttered the answer, and the stone wall reacted. The symbols glowed blue, then disappeared into particles of light. Immediately, the stone wall rumbled and sank underground. "What? The answer is lightning?" "Yeah." "Wow! How did you figure that out so fast? Really, you are a genius." "I'll tell you later. For now, let's clear the dungeon before anyone else arrives." I pushed Kim Soo-ho into the boss room. Boss stared blankly at Kim Hajin walking into the boss room. To be honest, she was in awe. Decisiveness, drive, boldness, and intelligence. Even though it was just a hidden stage, he had come this far in only 10 minutes. That was something ordinary people couldn't do. Truly extraordinary. She blurted it out subconsciously. She had heard the same words from her master, the previous boss of the Chameleon Trophy, who no longer existed in this world. She suddenly wondered, what did Master see in me to say that? She let out a deep sigh. With what happened today, she became certain. Kim Hajin was someone she wanted by her side. But before that could become a reality, he had to meet a few conditions. The most important was whether he could kill a human without hesitation. Ah, it's a maze. Why is a hidden stage so complicated? Quiet.
Boss looked far behind her. Two djinns from Packhorse Master were wandering around. Kim Hajin didn't know they were djinns. Since that was the case, she decided to make use of them. In the middle of an empty cave stood a giant stone throne. Sitting on it was the Swordsman of Destruction, staring down at us. He was completely covered in black armor. His eyes oozed boredom, as if he had just woken up. But in the next instant, the swordsman's eyes burned blue. He met Kim Suho's gaze and made a small smile. It seemed true that the strong could recognize each other. "What an interesting kid!" A chilling voice echoed. Kim Suho's face froze with nervousness. A monster capable of speaking human language is not ordinary. Even in reality, monsters high intermediate rank and above have intelligence on par with humans, though talking was still limited to humanoid monsters. Kim Suho quietly drew his sword. I felt like I understood what he was thinking. After all, I had written it. He emitted extraordinary hostility in spirit. I became certain that he was at least high intermediate rank. At the same time, I began to worry. Would I be able to defeat him? Soon I even began to feel afraid. But when the Swordsman of Destruction pulled out his sword, an unknown sense of confidence surged within me. My gift was Sword Saint. I was someone who would stand at the peak of swordsmanship. Against the swordsman opponent, there should be no reason for me to lose. There should be no reason for you to lose. I emphasized his last thought. Startled, Kim Suho stared at me. His real body is his sword. Sword? Kim Suho stared at the swordsman's sword. Crimson sword key waved around the black blade. The voice just now came from that sword. That body is just a corpse. In the original story, Kim Suho figured this out while exchanging blows with the Swordsman of Destruction. But I couldn't wait for him to realize it on his own, not when intruders could arrive at any time. The Swordsman of Destruction slowly raised his sword. His blade vibrated, letting out a stiff voice. "Come. It's been a while since I last obtained a body." Kim Suho stepped up. I also took out my gun. "You don't need to attack his body. Just hit the sword. I'll support you from the deck. I trust you." Now it was Kim Suho's turn. The sword in his hand was a high-rank sword, one he even took out loans to buy. The magic power of a sword saint rose clearly from this high-class sword. The Swordsman of Destruction made the first move and rushed in and struck down with his sword. Kim Suho raised his sword and blocked him. Quam! The two swords clashed. The Swordsman of Destruction pulled his sword back and struck down repeatedly, as if he wanted to break Kim Suho's sword. But not even a scratch appeared on Kim Suho's sword. Normally, it would have been destroyed by now from the Swordsman of Destruction's strength and magic power. But a sword saint's magic power couldn't fall to mere metal. Watching them fight, I slowly raised my gun. I couldn't use a shotgun. It might injure Kim Suho. Using a sniper rifle at this range would lower accuracy. With no other choice, I selected the handgun. Akung! Quang! Kung! Kakwang! Amid the thunderous noise, I aimed at the swordsman's shoulder. At the instant his sword clashed with Kim Suho's, I fired. Shoo! The light bullet shot forward, leaving a white trail, and then dug into the swordsman's rotten body. For a moment, he stopped moving. Immediately, Kim Suho began to counterattack.
He unleashed the magic power of a sword saint. His clear magic power rose like a tornado, and his sword shone with golden light. Next, he unleashed his own sword technique. A powerful strike shot up like lightning, followed by consecutive strikes that could sever rivers. The Swordsman of Destruction held up his sword to block them. But each time the swords clashed, a crack appeared on the swordsman's sword. Because of the bullet in his shoulder, his movement had slowed. Kim Suho followed my advice and only attacked the sword. It was the right way to defeat him. The swordsman didn't last long. Although Kim Suho was striking the swordsman's body began to crumble. Huh? Kim Suho dealt a final blow with a powerful shout. The sword shattered, and the swordsman's body turned to dust and scattered into the air. In the swordsman's place, all that was left was a single branch. Eh? Dumbstruck, Kim Suho stared at the branch. What's this?
He looked around the room just in case he was missing something, but there was no weapon or armor like he expected. The sword used by the swordsman of destruction had turned to dust, and the armor had disappeared. In other words, the only possible reward was the single branch in front of him. "This is it?" Disappointed, Kim Suho fell to the ground. I smirked and walked up to him. "Hey, this branch is—" Just as I was about to tell him about Middlestein. "Who are you?" A deep voice rang out. I quickly turned around. Shoot! I bit my lip. It was the two Jin I'd seen before. One held a great sword, the other a double-edged axe as big as his body. Didn't they say they were leaving? How did they come back so quickly? "Oi, we just asked who you were. How'd you get in here?" The baldy scowled, but the sword-wielding Caucasian man stopped him. He spoke more politely. "Our Packhorse Master Guild put in an official declaration to take on this dungeon. Who are you guys?" Pretending to answer, I stepped up and kicked the branch to the corner of the cave. "Oh, is that so? We didn't know. There was another pathway in here. That's where we came from." "Another pathway?" "Yes." The Caucasian man's expression stiffened. "What did you do here?" "We hunted a monster." "And the reward?" "As you can see, nothing." I raised my hands, smiling. Then the baldy whispered to his companion, pointing at Kim Suho, who was still on the ground. "Wait, isn't that Kim Suho? You know, the rank 1 cadet in Cube?" The Caucasian man stopped and messaged his comrades. "Yes, this is James. Yes, something came up. There are 2 Cube cadets here. One of them is—" Before he could finish, a clear command rang out. "Kill them!" At the same time, in Cube's fitness center, far from Suwon's Kamak Mountain. Rachel had just finished her 4-hour training session. Her day was finally over. Letting out a tired sigh, she murmured quietly, "I'm sleepy. Now let's go back to my room, take a shower, and sleep. Since tomorrow is Saturday, I can sleep in. Right, I should sleep until 3 p.m. That's a good plan." As she grabbed the changing room doorknob with happy thoughts, she overheard 2 cadets gossiping. "Did you know Kim Hajin likes Rachel?" "What? Really? No way!" "Yes way. Can't you see how he's been following her around? People say he's going to confess soon." "What? Confess? I don't believe it. Someone like him?" Rachel let go of the doorknob and backed away. She couldn't understand what was happening and suddenly felt dizzy. Confess? So suddenly? How do they know this? At that moment, she bumped into someone. "Ah!" Rachel quickly turned. Chae Na-yun was glaring at her with furrowed brows. "What are you doing?" "Nothing." "No, not nothing. You're stepping on my foot." Only then did she realize the situation. Indeed, she was stepping on Chae Na-yun's foot. "Ah, sorry." Chae Na-yun clicked her tongue and grabbed the doorknob. "Ah!" Rachel flinched. She didn't want more people to overhear the gossip, but before she could stop her, Chae Na-yun walked in. "Hello, Rachel she?" Someone else approached. It was Yu Yeon-hae. "Yes? Aren't you going in?" Rachel scratched her cheek and backed away. "No, please go ahead." Yu Yeon-hae gave Rachel a meaningful look before entering the changing room. The door closed, and Rachel strained her ears again. "Oh, hey, Na-yun, Yeon-hae, have you guys heard?" "What?" "I hear Kim Hajin is going to—" "Those girls, impossible!" I opened the door and barged in. Seeing her, the 2 gossiping cadets fell silent. What? What about Kim Hajin?" Chae Na-yun didn't even glance at Rachel as she urged the 2 cadets to speak. "It's nothing." They quickly ran away. Seeing them leave, Rachel let out a sigh of relief. Yeon-hae, who was watching Rachel, suddenly smiled as if she remembered something. "Oh, right, Rachel she. Yes? You're in that person's team, right?" "Team?" "That person."
She's talking about Kim Hajin. For some reason, she can't call Kim Hajin Bajin's by name. I can. Yonhei let out a dry cough. Anyway, how is he? Yes? What do you mean? Then, for some reason, Yu Yonhei made a somewhat angry face. Rachel Shi, aren't you looking down on me too much? I know the English Royal Court Guild made him an offer. Everyone knows it. Immediately, Rachel's expression stiffened. I don't know anything about. That can't be. The English Royal Court Guild only gets 2 chances a year to contact cadets. What fool would spend one on a rank 334 cadet? Yu Yonhei cut Rachel off and continued quietly. Not unless you personally witnessed what that rank 334 cadet is hiding. Yu Yonhei gave Rachel a cold glare, but soon she put on a bright smile. Well, I'm kidding, but I don't think you should use the Royal Court Guild so easily. I know it's a special privilege from an agreement between 2 countries, but doing so might create unnecessary enemies. Yu Yonhei's advice was really a warning. Right, this was a warning. At the same time, Rachel felt a cold emotion wavering deep inside her heart. Rachel glared at Yu Yonhei with a look that could cut. Yu Yonhei didn't avoid Rachel's eyes, meeting them calmly. What are you guys talking about? And Che Na-yun couldn't understand their conversation, even though she heard everything.
Chapter 85. Kill them. I could hear their communication. Immediately, a chill ran down my back. Are you sure? The Caucasian man asked again, but the answer was the same. He calmly nodded, gripping his greatsword. The Baldy grinned as he raised his double-edged axe. Blame your curiosity. The moment the Caucasian man muttered, the surroundings changed. A tide of darkness shot up from the right, engulfing everyone. Kim Suho disappeared into the darkness, leaving me alone with the bald barbarian. It was an isolation barrier. Big Bro always leaves me with the boring work. 2 golden axes were engraved on the chest of his leather armor, a symbol used by heroes to denote their rank. 2 golden weapons indicated intermediate rank. Since there was nothing else besides the 2 golden axes, he was a grade 9 hero. Why is an intermediate rank hero doing something like this to a cadet? Although I knew the answer, I asked anyway. The Baldy smiled without replying. Despite his appearance, he didn't seem talkative. He gathered his magic power, silently. A powerful current of magic rose around his axe, heating up the space within the isolation barrier. Sweat formed on the tip of my nose, and a cold sweat dripped down my back. I couldn't win against him. His axe could easily split my skull, and with the isolation barrier, I had no way to run. But there had to be something I could do. Suddenly, I had a flash of insight. I didn't know much about his personality, but from his barbaric appearance, I could surmise he was belligerent, prideful, and reckless. It wasn't a logical deduction, but people like him usually look down on their opponents. He was a typical cliché character that would appear in novels I've read and written. I sighed almost subconsciously. I bent down and pretended to pick up a rock as I molded aether into the shape of a rock. 95% of aether became a rock, while the remaining 5% formed a transparent thread that wrapped around my wrist and tied to the rock. Then I muttered softly, "Scan." The result was 30%. Although it was above average, I was less fortunate than normal. The difference of 14% was huge in practice. "What are you going to do with that?" Seeing me holding the rock, the Baldy showed interest. I fell into thought. Should I just throw it at him, or provoke him a little more? I just thought this would be enough. I chose the latter. Immediately his veins popped up in anger. My lips dried up. Would he charge at me in anger, or examine me more closely? "Where's your confidence coming from?" The Baldy widened his eyes and stood on guard, searching me for hidden weapons. Of course, with not even a hint of magic power within my body, he could only frown. "You little brat." I stared at him as I fiddled with the aether rock.
He stood still with his double-bladed axe. Though he called me a brat condescendingly, he seemed to be wondering what I would do. "I'm going to throw this." Since he was letting me have the first attack, I accepted it gladly. I threw the rock with all my strength. It flew quickly and accurately. But before the rock could reach his head, he leaned slightly to the side. The rock easily flew by him. A big smile emerged on his face. But I wasn't disappointed. This was within my expectations. He easily dodged the rock. My act made him dodge it, and now, seeing there was nothing to it, he undoubtedly had his guard down. I had saved Stigma's magic power for this exact moment. I poured all of Stigma's magic power into the aether thread connecting the rock and my wrist. Then I yanked it with all my strength. Stigma's magic power flared up explosively on the transparent aether thread. This burning of magic power could be seen with the naked eye. Immediately, the leisurely smile on his face disappeared. Taken aback by the sudden eruption of magic power, he readied his key reinforcement. But it was too late. Before his key reinforcement could fully form, the rock that had flown by his head came back with even more power, striking his head like lightning. Whack! With the sound of a rock cracking, the light disappeared from his eyes. Thud! His muscular body fell to the ground. I staggered toward him. He wasn't dead yet. Digins had abnormally high recuperative power. I had to end him quickly. I aimed my gun, loaded with a light bullet, at the back of his head. I didn't have the magic power to transform it into shotgun mode. Without hesitation, I pulled the trigger. Quang! The light bullet struck his head squarely. Pshh! The bullet was blocked by his dense skull and couldn't pierce through. The Baldy suddenly raised his head. Grah! He let out a loud roar. The sound wave struck my stomach. Although aether formed a barrier just in time, a huge shock shook my body. I was sent flying back and struck the wall. My vision blurred. A mere sound attack, without physical contact, transmitted a shock that seemed to rupture my organs. "You son of a bitch!" The Baldy staggered up, cursing. His face no longer seemed human. His skin turned pitch black, his eyes glowed red, and most importantly, sheep horns had grown on his head. Devil transformation. I closed my eyes and sighed. No matter how lucky, this was the end of the line. I should have ended things before it got to this stage, but I couldn't. I wasn't going to use this, but you... At that moment, the sound of something cutting through flesh rang out in the empty cave. Puzzled, I opened my eyes. A black blade was going through the Baldy. What? The Baldy stared at the blade piercing him, then fell and lost consciousness. Before his body could touch the ground, it turned into black dust and scattered. In place of the Baldy stood Chameleon Troop's boss. Stunned, I stared at her in a daze. She let out a dry cough, then spoke briefly. "Nice to meet you." "Yes?" Boss stared at me with a very calm expression. Chameleon Troop's boss. I somewhat understood why she was here. Chameleon Troop was supposed to interfere with Packhorse Master. But what I couldn't understand was why she kept appearing in front of me. We're running into each other quite often. Of course. Boss answered sincerely at my somewhat sarcastic remark. "Because I was watching over you." "Yes?" Boss approached me silently, then handed me a business card. This time it wasn't a guild business card belonging to Li Xiaopeng. Geronimo Mercenary, E. Seon. Geronimo Mercenary. Although it was a mercenary group second only to Vast Expanse, in truth, it was Chameleon Troop. In other words, Geronimo Mercenary Group was Chameleon Troop. Geronimo. I opened my eyes. I wasn't pretending to be surprised. I truly was. One of the important events I wrote was unfolding in front of me in a completely different way. She stood before Shin Jung Hak. He already knew who she was, as he had seen her many times before. "Nice to see you."
After appearing out of nowhere, she greeted him out of the blue. Shin Jung Hak laughed, unable to comprehend the situation. Aren't you showing yourself too frequently? I couldn't help it, she made a small smile. Because I was watching over you. Then she handed Xinjiang Hawk a small business card. Geronimo Mercenary. When Xinjiang Hawk saw this, his eyes glimmered with a bright light. Yu Yenha's room, Dorm 6's penthouse. 3 people sat in a circle, watching each other silently. None of them wanted to lose an inch, leading to this ill-matched group. It all started with what Yu Yenha said out of courtesy. Since we ran into each other, would you like to come for a night snack at my place? Anyone could tell these were empty words. In reality, there was only a single bag of chips on the table. However, Rachel accepted the offer. Would you like some juice? No thanks. Unable to endure the awkward atmosphere, Yu Yenha made an offer which Rachel refused. After that, another 10 minutes of silence passed. When Chain Nayun, bored, sprawled on the couch and scratched her belly half asleep, I want to ask, Yu Yenha spoke, addressing Rachel. How did you find out? It was a vague question, but Rachel knew what she meant. She was asking about Kim Hajin. I found out naturally. At Rachel's nonchalant answer, Yu Yenha smiled somewhat scornfully. But you don't know why that person is hiding his power, right? Rachel closed her mouth. She was convinced Kim Hajin was hiding his power, but she didn't know why. At that moment, Chae Nayun woke up and interjected. Hey, what are you talking about? Yu Yenha made a triumphant smile. Well, that's not something that's easy to find out. Rachel glared at Yu Yenha, annoyed by her triumphant air. Yu Yenha got up leisurely, brought orange juice, and poured it into wine glasses. Staring at the glass of orange juice, Rachel asked, Does knowing that change anything? It changes everything, isn't that obvious? It's like how Essence of the Strait is bigger than most government guilds. No, what I'm talking about is... In truth, Rachel wasn't too concerned about Kim Hajin, but she didn't want to lose to Yu Yenha. Rather than finding it out myself, it's better to wait until that person tells me himself. Yu Yenha's face immediately turned cold. Her investigation had been done in private. Kim Hajin didn't ask for it, nor was it for the public good. At least that's what I think. With that, Rachel got up from her seat. Then I'll be off. It's gotten too late. Rachel walked to the front door. Yu Yenha glared at her with strange eyes. Wait, why am I the only one out of the loop? Hey, Yu Yenha, are you sure you were speaking in Korean? Meanwhile, Chae Nayun grumbled in frustration. The barrier shattered. Soon, Kim Soo-ho appeared with a haggard expression. James was sprawled on the ground unconscious, and Kim Soo-ho was holding a branch in his hand. I had a hunch immediately. Kim Soo-ho had won by himself. Of course, Mistelstein was an amazing weapon even without being awakened. Since that Jin was also a sword user, Kim Soo-ho would have been well suited to fighting him. I spoke to Kim Soo-ho. You won? So did I. We looked at each other and laughed. But soon, Kim Soo-ho put on a serious face. Anyways, Hajin, I don't think this is an ordinary branch. Oh yeah? To me it looks amazing at first glance. Really? How? Take a seat. First, I sat Kim Soo-ho down. I had trouble staying standing as I felt a bit dizzy. Both physically and psychologically, I was quite exhausted.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like the video. Have a suggestion? Let me know in the comments.